107.3 FM. This is Siren FM.
It must be a fun response when you walk in one morning and go, right, you're an orchestra who's done stuff for every big film, Mario.
It is, it's great, I love that, and also I like the fact that, but they are really great, and they're not at all snobby or unwilling, or, they really got into it, and loads of the guys come up afterwards, and they had a really good few days doing it, and respect the fact that they take their work extremely seriously. And so, for example, the leader of the orchestra, he's a world-class, world-respected violinist. It takes about 5 years sometimes auditioning to get a job leading a major orchestra, and you only get it if you're one of the kind of very, very best players. So I can't kind of overlook the fact that he has this incredible knowledge, and he's there. And so when I ask him, I say to him, can you play it as if you're in a restaurant, in an Italian restaurant, and you're a fiddle player wandering from table to table? That's the kind of vibe. I have to be careful how to kind of have that conversation and not be disrespectful to it. But on the other hand, he's quite into that, and he nods his head seriously. He's got little glasses. Yes, okay, I Italian restaurant, and he tries very hard to play in a sort of more that kind of style, the more sliding around. And I think also doing the second album was much easier in that sense, because I think we built up a bit of a trusting relationship from the first time.
Did anything sort of surprise you working on either of the albums, or anything that came up you didn't expect?
I think what did surprise me was how well the first album did. I thought it would be a good thing to do, and I was interested in the whole thing. But it surprised me how much interest it's generated. And then it's been nice to meet people who know much, who are already well plugged into the video game music world, and realise what a big world that is. And
I think as a fan, you see it as when you get albums like this, it's a really big sort of appreciation of there is good stuff in there. Like the Wind Waker soundtrack is one of my favourites, so I'm delighted to see it on the second album.
Good.
And I go, great, there's some brilliant music in there, musically full stop, and to see that recognised and done in such a fantastic new way, I think it's something that you, as a fan, you just go, I'm really happy they've done that.
Yeah, I love that. It's great, and the music is. I know the music's been already done well orchestrally from Zelda, and it really appeals to me. Partly because sometimes if I get a tune and I've got to re-orchestrate it, I like to think of how a particular sort of film composer might approach it. So when I did Luigi's Mansion, I was thinking of the Danny Elfman score for Alice in Wonderland, and thinking how would he have done that tune if he was doing it. And with the Wind Waker one, I was thinking of Hans Zimmer's Pirates of the Caribbean maybe, or something like that. It just appealed to me immediately. I thought there's some great versions of that even that tune online, just with two blokes in their room just playing it. And I like a tune that can kind of be done interestingly by two people in their bedroom, and equally by a symphony orchestra. There must be something good about it.
Is it weird doing a track that has been orchestrated that much?
I didn't listen to it, to be honest. That's the answer to that.
That's probably the best move, isn't it?
Well, it is really. Ignorance was quite blissful on that. I hadn't even quite realised that had been done. If we're doing a recreation of a track, like the Elder Scrolls one, obviously I listened to that. I'm not worried about that because we're trying to recreate it. But yeah, if it was one where someone else has orchestrated an 8-bit tune, then I will pretty much avoid listening to it. Yeah, it's not very helpful, because if you're not going to do something exactly the same as that, then all you're going to do is worry yourself. If it's brilliant, you're going to be thinking, Christ, how am I going to... it's never going to be good for your creativity to...
Are there sort of any plans to do any of this music, particularly from the second album, live? Because those events must be so much energy, I suppose, from the crowd as well.
Yeah, well, we did it last year at the festival hall after the first album. We did a concert, and it was really, really lovely. And you're right, it was quite emotional. The sort of the recognition from people in the hall, and the kind of you could feel that they were really settling in for certain moments, and they were moved by certain things. And obviously, you don't when you put the album out there, you hope that people are getting that experience, but you're not sitting there with them once they do it. So I would certainly love to do more of it live. There isn't a plan at the moment, in all honesty, and I think that's just a question of logistics for the orchestra, and we should think about that more. But I know that generally in Mark, for example, at lunch is well in contact with people like the Proms organisation, and he's very much trying to sort of make sure that more of this music is done live as part of standard orchestral festivals like the Proms. That would be great to see some of it done in a festival like that.
I remember I went to see the Doctor Who music at the Proms, and it's a similar sort of thing.
How was that?
Oh, it was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. And it just sounded so good, and you get a bit more... It's sort of an introduction into classical music, I suppose, in a way. I wouldn't have gone to see a concert in the same way.
I really agree with you. I didn't hear the Doctor Who concert, but I know that when we did the concert at the festival hall, a lot of people came out to me afterwards, and they said that's the first time I've heard a symphony orchestra live, and they were quite overwhelmed because when you see 80 people all playing their individual thing, but it all comes together and gives you that effect, I think it is quite emotional for people, and I think you're right. They are much more likely to go off and listen to an orchestral concert after that of even classical music. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that there will be. I would predict confidently there'll be a video games music prom in sort of in the next 3 years, or for example. But I don't know.
We can hope.
We can hope, exactly.
Here we go. Siren FM.
So I wouldn't say that wouldn't mean there will be any more. I think it's just that, not hand to mouth in money terms, but I mean it's just sort of
see how it goes. It's
to see how it goes. I mean, to be honest with you, we did the first album last year. It was successful, but I thought this could come round again. In my mind, it was thinking 2 or 3 years' time they might come back and want another one. I was amazed when they came back, only 6 months after the release of the first one and wanted another. I was amazed and in all honesty, slightly horrified because I remembered how much work it was the year before. I was still getting over it, but it's been fun doing the second one, and it could well be that they'll do exactly the same next year, and there'll be another album next summer. But I would imagine that as last year, they'll suddenly have that conversation in April. But I can't give you any information on that, I'm afraid.
Now, if it won't spoil any potential plans for future ideas, are there any tracks you wanted to get on this album that you weren't able to?
Oh God, loads! Yeah, absolutely. There were ones that you can imagine the meetings with the guys, the researchers, or even anyone else, and everyone's got their own
list of 500 games.
Yeah, their list. I mean, they were very keen on this game, Dark Souls, which I couldn't find a piece of music I was enough convinced from, or Soul Calibur was up there. We haven't done anything from Myst, and obviously Myst has been done. Orchestras, we ought to look at that at some point. I looked at Journey, God of War, Battlefield is a game. I don't like too much kind of big bombastic war music on it. I mean, it's nice to do some. I think we need. There's an awful lot, and that's only ones that I've kind of come across. Monkey Island. Every time someone mentions Skyrim on the online, they always inevitably moan that we haven't done Morrowind, and this sort of thing. Well, yeah, okay, well that's good. We'll get around to that at some point soon. So it's probably a never-ending list, I should think.
But the ones that did get on, which are the tracks that you really enjoy or most proud of?
Good question. I am really proud of the ones that, from a personal point of view, I'm proud of the ones that are brand new, that there are no other versions out there like. So, I mean, I do like Dragon Roost Island and Sonic and Chrono Trigger. I'm sort of personally proud of those, but I mean, I'm equally proud of our recreations. I think the Deus Ex track, the Icarus main theme, that when we were trying to mix that in the room, I remember the engineer, who is Steve Price, who's probably, in my view, sort of one of the best in the world engineers. And I mean, he was like, I don't think there's anything else we could put into this track. I mean, it was literally he was there mixing choir, percussion, orchestra, guitars, drums, solos. It had the lot. And when you listen to that on the record now, it's pretty exciting when it all gets going at the end. And those are kind of proud moments when they actually work, because it's really hard to kind of make all those things come together. And it was great fun working with a proper choir on this one, which we didn't do on the first album.
So is that the exciting thing, the most exciting thing from it, hearing it all come together and that it works?
It's exciting and extremely overwhelming. I mean, I do find the days in the studio with the orchestra and choir, it's very emotional and overwhelming to hear them play it for the first time in the studio, but at the same time I'm also trying to be extremely forensic and objective, because what you don't want is to be overwhelmed by the experience of hearing the orchestra play, and then you get to the mix and you realise there's bits that are out of tune and bits that are not together and bits that you can't miss those things. I'm also trying to keep my
professional.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep professional, keep my sensible head on that. I mean, I'm lucky. Steve Price, the engineer I mentioned, he obviously is in the control. He keeps a good ear on it all. My wife is a producer, and she sits in the room with the score, and she's amazing at kind of she's got that kind of female intuition about just the kind of vibe of the piece. So she'll say they haven't yet played this kind of and got the atmosphere thing. So it does rely on other people, because also I'm trying not to get up, because I'm out there conducting it, and it's an amazing thing. Even if you've arranged it and written it, when you conduct it, you can easily go wrong and you can just make a silly brain mistake. And obviously that's a bit of a no-no in front of an orchestra. Yeah, I mean it's a tough gig, but I mean also a great gig. And I do have those moments, those pinch yourself moments when you're allowed to play with these great orchestra and also just do what you want and get them to play silly tunes like Luigi's mentioned.